The studio lights at Good Morning America had never felt hotter. Tyler Perry sat upright in his chair, hands folded neatly in his lap, his trademark calm expression masking a storm that had been building since the interview began. Across from him, Michael Strahan leaned forward slightly, cue cards resting on his knee, his smile polished and professional, but something in his eyes suggested the conversation was heading somewhere unexpected. Millions of viewers were tuned in that morning. Social media buzzed with excitement. Tyler Perry, media mogul, filmmaker, playwright, philanthropist, one of the most powerful figures in entertainment, was there to promote his latest project, a film centered on redemption, faith, and personal accountability. At least, that's what the segment was supposed to be about. Tyler, Michael began smoothly, your films often tackle heavy social issues, race, faith, family. Some critics say you simplify these topics too much. They argue your stories rely on stereotypes rather than complexity. How do you respond to that? The question landed like a spark on dry grass. Tyler didn't answer immediately. He tilted his head, eyes drifting briefly toward the studio monitors, then back to Michael. The audience at home might not have noticed it, but the production crew did, the slight tightening of Tyler's jaw, the measured inhale. I've been hearing that question for 20 years, Tyler said calmly. And every time, it comes from people who've never lived the lives I'm portraying. Michael nodded, but pressed on. But do you think there's responsibility, especially with your platform, to evolve beyond those familiar narratives? The co-hosts shifted in their seats. Robin Roberts glanced between the two men, sensing tension. George Stephanopoulos lowered his pen. Tyler leaned back slightly. Michael, let me ask you something. When stories about certain communities don't make money, nobody complains. But when they do, suddenly there's a problem. Michael chuckled lightly, trying to soften the moment. I'm just voicing what some critics have said. That's the issue, Tyler replied, his voice still controlled but firmer now. You're giving space to critics who don't show up for the people I serve. A hush fell over the studio. The director behind the cameras gestured urgently for Michael to steer the conversation back to safer ground. But Michael, perhaps sensing an opportunity for a deeper discussion, or perhaps misjudging the moment, continued. Some also say, Michael added, glancing briefly at his card, that your success has insulated you from criticism. That you don't listen anymore. That was it. Tyler's expression changed, not anger, not outrage, but something quieter and more dangerous, disappointment. I listen every day, Tyler said. I listen to single mothers, to veterans, to people who feel invisible. What I don't listen to is disrespect disguised as journalism. The air felt thick. Robin opened her mouth to interject, but Tyler raised a hand, not aggressively, just enough to signal he wasn't finished. I came here to talk about a film that gives people hope, he continued. Instead, I'm being asked to defend my existence in this industry. Michael shifted in his seat. That's not fair. No, Tyler interrupted gently but decisively. What's not fair is pretending these questions are neutral. The control room erupted in whispers. Producers exchanged panicked looks. The red live indicator glowed relentlessly. Michael tried once more to regain balance. Tyler, we respect your work. Then show it, Tyler replied. Because respect isn't just an introduction and applause. It's how you frame the conversation. For a brief moment, time seemed to stop. Then Tyler did something no one expected. He reached down, unclipped his microphone, and placed it carefully on the arm of his chair. Robin gasped softly. George's eyes widened. I'm done, Tyler said quietly. I won't participate in this. Michael stood up instinctively. Tyler, wait. But Tyler was already on his feet. The cameras scrambled to adjust. One zoomed in on Michael's stunned expression, another caught Robin rising halfway out of her seat. A third followed Tyler as he walked calmly, but resolutely, off the set. The director shouted, "Cut to commercial." A split second too late. Viewers at home watched in disbelief as Tyler Perry disappeared behind the curtain. Twitter exploded. Hashtag Tyler Perry walks off began trending within minutes. Backstage, assistants rushed past Tyler, unsure whether to stop him or let him go. He didn't look back. Inside the studio, silence lingered. Michael Strahan cleared his throat, forcing a smile as the producers finally cut away. But the damage was done. The moment was already immortalized, captured, clipped, shared. And no one yet knew the full story of what had really happened behind those cameras, or why this walk-off would change morning television forever. The hallway behind the Good Morning America studio was unusually quiet. Tyler Perry walked with steady steps, his face calm but his mind racing. Years in Hollywood had taught him one thing well: moments like this were never just moments. They became narratives, twisted, debated, weaponized. A production assistant jogged up beside him. "Mr. Perry, the producers would really like to talk." Tyler stopped. He turned slowly, not angry, not raised-voiced, just firm. "I've said what I needed to say. Right now, silence is more powerful." The assistant nodded, unsure, and backed away. Inside the studio, the mood was chaos disguised as professionalism. Michael Strahan sat back down, hands clasped, jaw tight. Robin Roberts leaned toward him as the cameras cut to commercial. "That went off the rails," she whispered. Michael exhaled. "I didn't think he'd take it that way." George Stephanopoulos shook his head. It wasn't the question, it was the framing. In the control room, producers watched social media dashboards light up like fireworks. Clips of Tyler unclipping his mic were already circulating, slowed down, zoomed in, captioned with everything from praise to outrage. One producer muttered, "This is going to dominate the news cycle." Another, "State bluntly, it already has." Backstage truths. In his private green room, Tyler finally sat down. His phone buzzed non-stop, texts from actors, directors, pastors, community leaders. One message stood out. "Oprah, I saw it. You were right." Tyler closed his eyes for a moment. He wasn't angry at Michael, not really. What hurt was something deeper, the familiar expectation that he must always explain himself, always translate his purpose into language acceptable to people who never needed it in the first place. A longtime member of his team, Lisa, entered quietly. "You okay?" Tyler nodded. "I am. But this wasn't just about me." "What do you want to do?" she asked. Tyler looked up. "Nothing. Not yet. The internet decides." By noon, the moment had become a cultural flashpoint. Clips played on loop across cable news. Was Tyler Perry silenced, or did he shut down a necessary conversation? Did Good Morning America cross a line? Celebrities weighed in. Actors who had once been dismissed the same way Tyler had spoke up. Writers posted long threads about respect versus critique. Past interviews were dug up, replayed, reframed. Then something unexpected happened. A leaked clip surfaced. It was from before the interview, captured by a hot mic during rehearsal. Michael's voice was audible. "Let's push him a little. He usually dodges." The clip wasn't damning on its own, but in context, it changed everything. The narrative shifted. This wasn't a misunderstanding, it was strategy. Michael Strahan's realization. That evening, Michael sat alone in his office, jacket draped over a chair, the city lights glowing beyond the window. He replayed the moment again and again, not the walk-off, but the seconds before it. Tyler's eyes. The pause. The restraint. For the first time, Michael asked himself a hard question. Was I listening, or was I trying to win? His phone buzzed. A message from the network. "We need a statement. Tonight." Michael typed one out. Deleted it. Typed again. Deleted that too. Finally, he stood up. "No," he said aloud to no one. "This needs to be said properly." The statement that changed everything. The next morning, Good Morning America opened with an unusual sight. Michael Strahan, alone at the desk. No banter. No upbeat music. Just honesty. "Yesterday," he began, "an interview on this show went wrong. And I want to be clear, this wasn't about sensitivity or ego. It was about respect." Viewers leaned in. "I pushed when I should have listened. I framed questions in a way that challenged a man's legitimacy rather than explored his work. And for that, I owe Tyler Perry an apology." Social media froze. "I've reached out to him privately," Michael continued. "But I also want to say this publicly. Accountability doesn't end when the camera's cut." He paused. "Tyler, if you're watching, your voice matters. And I'm sorry." The segment ended without applause. But across the country, people nodded. Tyler's response. Tyler watched from his office in Atlanta. He didn't smile. He didn't frown. He simply breathed. An hour later, he posted a short message on his own platform. "Apologies matter. Conversations matter more. I accept Michael's apology. Let's move forward, better." That was it. No rant, no victory lap, and somehow, that restraint spoke louder than anything else could have. The aftermath. The walk-off became a case study. Media schools discussed it. Newsrooms debated it. Executives quietly rewrote interview guidelines. But the biggest change was invisible. Guests began pushing back more. Hosts began listening longer. And audiences, finally, began noticing the difference. As for Tyler Perry, his film opened 2 weeks later. It broke box office expectations. Not because of controversy, but because people felt seen. And somewhere in a morning studio once defined by polished smiles and safe questions, a line had been redrawn. Not in anger, but in dignity.